Okay, so good morning. As an attendee, your microphone will be automatically muted during the meeting unless you are provided testimony. For each agenda item you wish to testify on, please click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen. Sorry, this is the Advisory Committee on Plants and Animals for Friday, October 11th, 2024. Okay, back into the intro. Committee staff will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone and turn on their camera. When recognized by the chair, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking in order to prevent audio feedback. When testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If you cannot get internet access, you may get audio-only access by calling the Zoom phone number listed at the top of the agenda. Upon dialing the number, you will be prompted to enter the meeting ID, which is also listed at the top of the agenda. After entering the meeting ID, you will be asked to either enter your panelist number or wait to be admitted into the meeting. You will not have a panelist number, so please wait until you are admitted into the meeting. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering star and then 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering star and 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you're finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself. In the event that connectivity is lost and attempts to repair the connection exceed 30 minutes, the meeting may be terminated or continued to another date and time. Please consult the webpage for updated information. For internet, telephone, and in-person access, when testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. So let's do our call to order. So welcome to the Advisory Committee on Plants and Animals. I'm Greg Takashima, Acting Plant Industry Administrator at the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, and will be chairing this meeting. This meeting is called to order at 9:04 a.m. So for the roll call, I'll take roll call of the committee members present. When your name is called, please verbally acknowledge your presence and confirm whether or not you are alone in the room. If you are not alone, you will need to identify anyone who is 18 years or older who is also in the room with you. This also serves as a roll call vote. For each subsequent vote, I will ask if there are any objections or abstentions. If there are none, then the motion will be approved on the same basis as this initial roll call. Okay, so Greg Takashima, Acting Plant Industry Administrator. I am here. Grace Simmons, Department of Health.
Oh, wait, and I'm present.
Morning.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. And I'm over 18. Jennifer Wahei Polk, Deputy Attorney General for this committee.
Go ahead, Grace.
Morning, Grace Simmons, Hawaii Department of Health, and I'm alone in my office.
Okay, thanks, Grace. Rob Hoff, Department of Land and Natural Resources.
Oh, good morning, Rob Hoff, Department of Land and Natural Resources. I am alone in my cubicle.
Okay, morning, Rob. Maria Haas, UH Hilo Pacific PACRC.
Good morning, I'm here, University of Hawaii at Hilo. I'm alone in my office.
Sam Gone, Nature Conservancy I don't see him. Kevin, is he here?
Rob, I'm sorry, who was that?
Sam.
Greg?
Sam.
Sam. No, he's not available yet.
Okay.
He's not here yet.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Joshua Fisher, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
Good morning, Josh Fisher, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Pacific Islands Fish and Wildlife Office, and I am alone.
Okay. Pam Mizuno, Paneava Zoo, Retired Director.
Yep, Pam Mizuno, retired from Paneava Rainforest and Gardens.
Okay.
I am alone in this room.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Tom Eisen, Environmental Review Program.
Yes, Tom Eisen with the Environmental Review Program of the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, formerly known as the Office of Environmental Quality Control. Quite a mouthful. Here, present, and alone.
Okay, Thank you, members. Next up on our agenda is introductions. So I wanted to just do a quick introduction of myself as the newest member of this committee. Again, my name is Greg Takashima. I'm the acting plant industry administrator of the Hawaii Department of Agriculture's Plant Industry Division. My previous and current position is in the pesticides branch as the pesticides program manager. I've been with the state for over 17 years, 11 of which was with the Hawaii Department of Health, 6.5 or so at HDOA now. Born and raised in Hilo, graduated from UH Hilo, interned at PACRC back when it first opened with Dr. Hopkins. So it is, again, very nice to see some representatives from my alma mater on the advisory committee. Okay, so let's move on with the introductions. Let's move on to the approval of our minutes. So regular sessions minutes for our March 11th, 2024 meeting. Does anyone from the public wish to provide testimony? Okay, hearing none, board discussion.
Sorry, I was looking at the November minutes. There's a set of minutes from March that were sent out.
Yes, there should have been. Jonathan, do you?
They should have been. If nobody has them, because it seems like nobody has it. Because Rob didn't get it, I don't see anybody else going like, yes, I have it.
Actually,
we
I have it.
can't approve November minutes.
Oh, Pam has it.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Was it sent out by Deborah? So she sent me the November minutes on September 30th.
I just got a copy, a hard copy from her because I couldn't open the files that she had sent. They were just too big.
Oh.
Why don't you just move it to the next meeting?
Maybe that's why you got them and nobody else did.
Okay, so it seems like we may have to move the approval of the minutes to the next meeting, because it doesn't seem like we have all of the agenda or all of the minutes to all of the members. So we can just defer this and approve it on the next Plant Animal Advisory Committee meeting. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Hey, Greg, before you move on,
sure.
I believe that the staff were having a little bit of a technical issue in the live setting. So I don't know if Kevin has addressed it, because I noticed you guys can't see them. So
Jonathan.
Go ahead, Kevin.
We're good now.
So can you turn on the camera? Because they can't see.
Yeah, we're getting to it. We had to switch computers, so we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, now I see everyone.
Yeah, cool. No, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. And with that, let's move on to the request for review and recommendation by the Advisory Committee on Plants and Animals. Starting with request number 1 on the agenda related to the importation of 4 African black-footed penguins. Presentation by staff.
Hello and good morning, Chair and Advisory Committee on Plants and Animals. My name is Jessica Amira. I'm the Acting Land Vertebrate Specialist for Plant Quarantine Branch. Today I'm presenting a request to 1, allow the importation of 4 African black-footed penguins, Spheniscus demersus, an animal on the list of restricted animals Part B by permit for exhibition by Hyatt Regency Maui Resort and Spa. And 2, update the permit conditions for the importation and possession of 4 black-footed penguins for exhibition by Hyatt Regency Maui Resort and Spa. The importer, as well as requester, is Kovi Karisa Abney, the wildlife supervisor at the Hyatt Regency Maui, located in Lahaina. The PQB has previously approved import permits for Patricia Lonick at Hyatt Regency Maui on November 10th, 1992 and December 1st, 1992 to import black-footed penguins and Magellanic penguins. The High Regency Maui currently can no longer produce viable offspring as they're too closely related. They're seeking to obtain 4 penguins of a different bloodline to ensure genetic vitality. They have been recently accepted into the Zoological Association of America's Animal Management Program for African penguins and have obtained a captive bred wildlife permit through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They've also registered their penguins to the Association of Zoos and Aquariums Regional Stud Book, and they have determined that their penguin population is genetically unique. They're seeking to obtain these 4 new penguins in order to comply with AZA's minimum population standard recommendation of 10 penguins for their enclosure size. Additionally, the penguins will be used for exhibition at the Hyatt Regency Maui Resort and Spa. Their penguin habitat is located inside of the Hyatt Regency Maui Resort at 200 Nohea Drive in Lahaina. The habitat is safeguarded by a lava rock wall to keep the penguins inside and to protect them from the elements. They have 150 security cameras and employ 24 hours to prevent escape or harassment of animals, and as well as water features that monitor the penguins, the water quality of the penguins. They also have a quarantine space inside for severe weather, training, and minor medical procedures. Care for major illnesses or injuries would take place at the South Maui Animal Clinic in Kihei. They have also, the Hyatt Regency Maui has also provided a biosecurity manual for their facility that is based off of the National Zoo Biosecurity Manual and Guidelines. This request was submitted to the Advisory Subcommittee on Land Vertebrates for their review and recommendations. Their recommendations and comments are as follows. 1, recommend approval or disapproval to allow the importation of 4 African black-footed penguins, an animal on the list of restricted animals Part B, by permit for exhibition by the Hyatt Regency Maui Resort and Spa. 4 of the subcommittee members approved recommendation to allow the importation. The second was to recommend approval or disapproval to update permit conditions for the importation of 4 African black-footed penguins by permit for exhibition by the Hyatt Regency Maui Resort and Spa. The 4 subcommittee members did recommend approval to update the permit conditions. So thank you so much for allowing me to present. This concludes my portion. I do believe that Hovi is here to answer any additional questions that the committee members may have. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Is there Kevin, is there anyone in the waiting room?
Yes, I have Obi. I'll bring her up.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question for sorry, I missed the name of the PQ specialist. My volume was down.
Oh no, my name is Jessica Amira.
Jessica, yeah, I had a question for you.
Okay.
Rob, hold on. Yeah, we're gonna take public testimony and then we'll do board discussion.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay.
Obi, please state your name and your affiliation.
My name is Povi Carissa Abney, and I'm the wildlife supervisor at the Hyatt Regency Maui.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony.
Okay. First of all, I definitely want to thank everybody for taking the time to consider our application, and we really appreciate the opportunity to share more about our program. Some of the main things that I wanted to focus on, we really spend a lot of time focused on our community. So these penguins are the heart of our ohana. They've been in our community for over 40 years, and we've had generations of families grow up with them. Right now, our penguins are at a point where they can no longer genetically reproduce because they are too closely related. So we've had a number of things happen in the last couple of years that I wanted to share. We've received 3 different permits in the time since our last meeting. We have a new permit from the Fish and Wildlife. That's our captive breeding permit. We are now part of the ZAA breeding program for African penguins. And then we also recently passed our USDA welfare check, which is a brand new thing. We provide a number of education opportunities for local families, for school groups, and this is a really important part of our program. Since the fires, our penguins have actually been a very important part of healing the community. When the Lahaina fires happened, a number of families were displaced. Our families were staying here at the Hyatt along with first responders, FEMA, and coming down to visit the penguins has been a very healing part of our community. We had a lot of Lahaina children coming down, painting rocks with positive messages that were also helping to heal the community. It is really important as animal caretakers that we give our penguins the best possible life, which does include reproduction. So for 14 years, our penguins have been trying to reproduce. They've been building nests. They've been grieving over losses. We have been consulting with several penguin experts from zoos and aquariums, and all have reiterated the importance of bringing new penguins in to have a new bloodline so they can successfully reproduce. We have a very strong affiliations with penguin conservation. We work with a number of different facilities to help raise money for penguin conservations for wild populations. Only 1% of the original African penguin population remains in South Africa, and we have a very unique opportunity to step up and help save a species. We want to continue on with Hawaiian's legacy of sharing birds with people, not just visitors. Oh, did you lose me? Am I?
No, we have you.
You still have me. Okay. Sorry, my thing just went off. But we are honoring the Hawaiian culture of carrying on tradition of sharing birds with our guests and our community. A lot of kids that are here in Hawaii don't have an opportunity to see animals that live outside the Hawaiian Islands. We have no zoos here on Maui, so this is an amazing opportunity to learn more about the world. Our team is not just focused on penguins. We partner with several community organizations to help protect native species. We fully understand the responsibility that comes with caring for African penguins. Our goal is to be transparent and to follow all the regulations that are in place. We know that this is a challenging process, and we think it should be, because this is something that we don't take lightly. We know that caring for these animals means following necessary protocols to keep them safe while also protecting native habitats. So it is our goal to follow all protocols to protect our native species here in Hawaii. I'm available to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Poe. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to provide testimony?
We have no one at the moment, Greg.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Board discussion. Rob, I believe you had a question.
Yeah, I had a question for Jessica and perhaps Jonathan, but so the application mentions the original permit being issued in the early 90s. However, I recall very recently, maybe within the last 3 years, that we heard very similar application from the Hyatt Regency at Kana and Pali. And I believe that moved on to the Board of Agriculture and was rejected by the Board of Agriculture, but I could be mistaken. I'm just wondering if you could provide a little background on the more recent permit application and its fate.
So yes, it did go to board back in 2022. It was deferred. It wasn't disapproved, but it was deferred. So the applicant is trying to do, the request again. So she has, this is where she wants to bring into account like the tie into, what it brings to Hawaii, what the penguins, her education, as well as, what the company will provide in a sense to relate it to Hawaii. That would be probably the major change. Otherwise, I mean, the request is still the same, where they want to still import for new penguins. Oh.
Was there a reason provided why it was deferred by the board? Just curious.
Maybe Jonathan can answer. It's really hard, but I think it's because of, well, half of the members approved, and then the other half, there's 5 that there's like half the members approve, and then there was one that would abstained, which could have been the deciding factor on the vote. But they did bring into attention that penguins are not native to Hawaii. But previously, I mean, there was a board member that previously stated that they had recently approved a permit for swans, which are also not native to Hawaii. Yeah.
I don't,
Greg, I have Obi. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know, Greg, do you want me to add to that?
We can't hear
Yes,
you, Greg.
Jonathan. We'll go to you first, and then we'll go to Povi after.
Yeah, so so I think to kind of start off with, I think Rob's initial question, I think so for the committee, if something is denied by the board, to bring it back through the process, there is a requirement that the request should be substantially different from the initial request. So I think that to address that particular fact, because if it was denied, the request should be substantially different from the initial request that was presented. As to what happened at the board meeting, I believe that there were 7 or 8, and there were 5 votes for, and I believe 2 against, and the last member, that was their first meeting, and I don't think they had a chance, or they missed it somehow, so they didn't have enough time to read it and then vote, or they didn't feel comfortable with voting. So because there wasn't enough votes, you need 6 votes one way or the other. The board decided to defer it, and my understanding is Povi has, like with all the new licenses and all that type of stuff, they took a lot of the comments that the board had made at their meeting, and has brought all that before the committee, and then with the idea of going back before the board to, kind of address some of those concerns that were brought up at the board level. And I believe it was, I can't remember what member it was, but one of the comments during the voting was the fact that another hotel who also displays, exotic animals, non-native animals, was approved by the board, and I believe it was unanimous. And then this one, they voted a different way, up slightly, and that's fine. There's nothing that says that the board has some broad discretion, and that's kind of where we're at now. Sorry, kind of a long-winded
Thanks, Jonathan.
But yeah.
Okay, we can go ahead and go back to Povi.
Okay. I I basically just wanted to share exactly what Jonathan just said. So the matter was tabled, it wasn't deferred, and just didn't get enough votes to, I think we were one vote short of a passing thing. But basically, we just took the last 2 years, we really took our time to address all of the concerns that were brought up at the last hearing. Because I feel like there was a lot of misconceptions about what our program is. Basically, I think the overall consent was assuming that these penguins were here just for Hyatt guests, when in fact they're very much part of our community. And we do a number of community programs and conservation education, and we focus a lot on raising money and awareness for endangered species in Africa. So we did receive 3 permits since the last meeting, and we also had a consultation with the head African penguin specialist from AZA, who did a thorough assessment of our program. And we also incorporated all of his suggestions as well. So again, you know, our goal is to just be fully compliant. We want to do things the right way.
Okay, thank you, Povi. Tom, you have a question?
Yes, I do have the curiosity. Maybe Povi can explain if she knows about the natural habitat of these animals in their native lands, I guess South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do model our habitat after the environment in South Africa, which is mainly sandy beaches, rocks. All of our penguins have basically kind of fake rock enclosures. So anytime they want to have some privacy, get away from the elements, they have that available as well. They have a big pond area to swim in. They do have a rock wall enclosure that completely surrounds the habitat. So temperatures in South Africa, similar to what we have here, their temperatures tend to be a little bit more extreme, so higher highs and lower lows, while ours is more temperate. But those penguins were selected because they do thrive in our climate here in Maui.
The water temperatures there, I imagine, are cooler than here. And that our ocean temperature.
They can be. So our water, I would say, is about 74 degrees inside the habitat. Now, because they're not really relying on colder waters to support the fish life, you know, they're not staying in the water quite as much, but they can regulate their own temperatures by going in and out of the water. In addition, we also have trees and plants that provide shade inside the habitat.
And I have read in information that naturally they'd be eating cold water fish like sardines and things like that, which there aren't here specifically. But how adaptive are these critters? Like, could they survive here in the wild if they were to be there? I know you've done a great job of keeping them contained and preparing and having a very desirable habitat for them, so they probably have no interest in leaving. But if they were to get out, I'm just curious how adaptive and likely they would survive on their own.
Well, frankly speaking, I think our penguins are pretty spoiled, and they would probably have a rough time. So the fish that we feed them is actually shipped in from the Atlantic. So they are feeding them fish that they would be finding in their natural habitat. So because our area does not have a great abundance of small schooling fish, I think they would have a pretty rough time finding the fish that they need if they were to get out into our ocean.
And then would the animals being imported have ever lived in the wild? Or have they been captive?
No, they are an endangered species. It's not something we would even consider. So their populations in zoos and aquariums in human care is thriving. So the facility we are speaking to is Metro Richmond Zoo in Virginia. They have one of the most successful animal breeding, African penguin breeding programs in the world. So that is who we're in contact with. They have already offered 4 penguins. And the curator of that zoo is also the head of the breeding program. So we're seeking out the best. We also, that particular zoo, we really admire their safety protocols. They're very proactive when it comes to the safety of their animals, disease prevention. So that's the other reason we're looking at Metro Richmond Zoo.
Great, thank you. Appreciate your information.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hold on,
Okay.
real fast. Hey, Kevin, can we add committee member Sam Gone in, please? He has his hand raised in the attendees or in the participants. Yeah.
Maybe he's using the wrong.
And Sam, when we do get you on, we do need the video on, and to ensure that you're alone in your room. Okay. While Sam is figuring out his video, Pam, you can go ahead with your question.
Okay, I just noted that Dr. McKinney's recommendation for approval, she noted that the facility needs to apply for a USDA license and proceed through the pre-license process. And I'm just wondering if that's already been done, or are you still in the process of getting your USDA license?
Is that the animal welfare license?
Yes.
Yes, well, we've completed that. And
Okay.
I believe I sent that to Jessica, so that that is on record. So we've received our walkthrough and the actual certification itself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Josh, you have a question?
Sure, yeah, I have a kind of a question of intrigue, but then also a comment. I did note, well, first of all, it's great if in Hawaii we're showcasing native species, but we do recognize the value of the captive propagation of endangered species. So it does serve an important utility. I guess I was interested, so I did read that, you know, the penguins are like highly susceptible to avian malaria, and I found it interesting that that you guys have, I mean, you've had them there for 40 years and haven't seemed to have a problem. I would imagine that avian malaria is pretty ambiguous among the lowland areas on Maui. So I'm thinking that you guys probably don't have too much mosquito pressure just along the coast right there where your location is. Because you said that you guys stock with mosquito fish. But obviously it's working. So I found that to be interesting that you haven't had any incidences of that. I also read in the package, one of the recommendations was to get an avian influenza screen if their permit was approved. And I think that is, I would also agree with that as an important screening. The H5N1 virus is pretty, it's throughout North America now. It keeps circulating. And so I think that's important. And I think it's also something to take into consideration for your colony. Just as far as biosecurity, I mean, we haven't detected it in Hawaii, but every year that could be a situation where it shows up, and that's going to that'll have to be a consideration for your colony. That's all I have.
If I can answer that, we actually did take that into consideration. So not only have we stocked the pond with mosquito fish, we sprinkle in the sand, lavender, rosemary, things that are natural mosquito repellents. When we had our consultation, that was also something that was addressed with Steve Sorrow. And he was also pretty impressed with the program we've had, not being exposed to that. We're very careful with all of the other birds as well. So we no longer let guests handle any of our parrots. We keep comfortable distances. It's not something that we want to see. We certainly don't want to be responsible for importing any birds that are sick. So all vaccinations we are completely compliant with. Metro Richmond Zoo on their end as well are willing to do whatever you recommend.
Okay. Members, any further discussion? Questions?
Yeah, I guess I just kind of want to reiterate my concerns about the bird flu. We are in a global pandemic of bird flu, and Hawaii is one of the only places on the planet that doesn't have bird flu. And I don't feel I have enough information in this application that saying that they're going to be tested 2 weeks before being imported is mitigating that risk. So I'm not completely comfortable with this. I'm also, there's a lot of unknowns about this pathogen. And I would have to turn to my colleagues at Department of Health on this, but I don't think it's known whether humans can transmit to wildlife. And I've noticed in the media, there have been increasing cases with humans, and these penguins are going to be mingling with hotel guests in the lobby. I guess I have some concerns there, especially because of the susceptibility of Hawaii's wildlife to bird flu, from monk seals to albatross and other seabirds. It would be devastating to our native animals. And so I don't really know what to say to that. I don't know whether I would feel comfortable if there were like quarantine post-import and additional testing. I'm still not completely sold on the value of the education. I think that that would have come across stronger if there had been people from the community testifying to the value of having the penguins. Honestly, I'd rather see the resources devoted toward native seabirds, recuperation, and integrating that into the visitor programming that you run there. So anyhow, those are just some thoughts I wanted to share. If you have, additional feedback on those concerns, that's great. If other members have anything to add to that.
Again, I'm happy to address your concerns. So guests absolutely do not mingle with our penguins. So there is a strong barrier between them. The only people that work with the penguins are going to be the handlers. There would never be a situation where guests are in with our penguins. The facility that we are getting penguins from, again, there is no avian flu in their zoos as well. So that is something, again, we're willing to do however length of blood testing that you would feel more comfortable with. As far as programs that we do, we are actively involved with Maui forest birds, with Maui seabirds, and basically doing outreach outreach programs within our resorts. Basically, we work with our penguins as ambassador animals. We feel people that can connect with penguins can connect with animals that are here in Hawaii. As far as community support goes, last year we were in a program called March of the Penguin Madness. It's kind of a fun awareness campaign regarding penguins, in which community members vote their favorite penguin in a March Madness style bracket. Our penguin received over 25,000 votes worldwide. And so she actually made it all the way to the finale. She was crowned the top African penguin in the world. And this is a penguin going up against zoos from all around the world. So the community support that we have for our penguins is incredibly strong. We did submit several letters of recommendations from local schools and teachers, community members supporting our program, because we do offer programs, free community programs, education programs.
Kevin, we're getting a lot of feedback from your folks' side. Not sure. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Jonathan, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, sorry. So Jonathan Ho, Plant Quarantine Branch Manager. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself last time. But yeah, so as Rob mentioned, right? So condition 12 does have a requirement for avian influenza testing. And again, the 14 days prior to importation. It has the mosquito-proof enclosure for 7 days, and all that stuff. So this request has gone, the state veterinarian, Dr. Isaac Maeda, is on the advisory subcommittee. He did note that in his comments that should be there, and so that was included. So my understanding is this must be in line. I'm not a disease expert in any way, shape, or form, but I'm assuming that this is in line with, I think, what they're doing now for other bird importation species, not just these birds. I think this requirement is probably for all birds that are being imported. So I think because of the risk for avian influenza. So my understanding is this condition is what they, I guess, is the standard for that type of thing. And I believe he did recommend approval with that declaration. So I would assume that that is his expertise. So I think to address that particular comment, I think these conditions do manage that risk. I mean, there is no such thing as no risk. A test is possible, but I think when you look at this particular request against any other pet bird that could be imported currently, I think the same risk is there. And my guess is we're not finding it. So the conditions that AI or the requirements that AI are imposing seem to be addressing that particular issue. That with little expertise that I have. Just a comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Any further discussion?
Well, just another question for Jonathan while he was there. I didn't see the letters of support that Povey referenced. Were those part of the submittal?
Part of the attachment, yeah, it's part of the submittal.
Yeah, it's in the permit.
Yeah, so number 8, letters of recommendation and testimonials. Attachment should be attachment number 13 and attachment 14 for the letters.
Okay. Any further questions, discussion? All right. Not seeing any. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Approve.
Second.
Okay, I think I saw Tom. Tom Eisen, may I have a second?
Second.
Pam second.
Okay, Pam second. Perfect. Okay, let's see. Call for the vote. Are there any objections or abstentions?
Chair.
Yes.
Sorry, before we vote, to interrupt. Did Sam introduce himself and state that he's alone, just to make sure that it doesn't mess up the voting?
Okay, yes. Sam, go ahead. Can we please get an introduction?
Thank you. Sorry.
Yes, apologies for jumping on late. My calendar didn't have the right time on it. So Sam Ohugan, member of Plant and Animal Advisory.
Thank you, Sam. Oh, also, we need to confirm that you are alone in the room, unless needs to be 18 years or older if anyone else is in the room.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jonathan, for that. Now, again, we can call for the vote. Are there any objections or abstentions? Okay, hearing none and seeing none, the motion is approved. Moving on to request number 2 on the agenda related to
we're not doing individual vote, sorry.
No, yeah, so it's if there are no objections or abstentions, we're
okay.
It's gonna be,
for the record, I object and we'll vote no on this one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you should say that when we ask for any objections or abstentions.
Sorry, I haven't seen it run this way.
Okay.
My bad.
Then you gotta go roll call. vote.
Yeah, so now, since there are objections, we'll do roll call vote. So, Greg Takashima, approve. Let's see, let me get my roll call. Grace Simmons,
Approve.
okay, Rob Hoff,
Not approve.
objection. Maria Hawes,
Approve.
okay, Sam Gone,
Approve with reservations, but approve.
Josh Fisher,
Approve with the avian influenza screenings additions. So yes, approve.
Pam Mizuno,
Approve with all the requirements of 12.
and Tom Eisen.
Approve.
Okay, thank you. Motion is approved. Let's see. Moving on to request number 2 for the agenda related to the importation of monkeypox virus. Presentation by staff.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Plant and Animal Committee. My name is Shelby Chang. I am the acting microorganism specialist here to present a request by Dr. Suguna Verma of the University of Hawaii John A. Birx School of Medicine. She is a professor and graduate co-chair of the Department of Tropical Medicine, Medical Microbiology, and Pharmacology. The request is to 1, allow the importation of monkeypox virus clade 2B on the list of restricted microorganisms, Part A, for laboratory research by the University of Hawaii. And 2, establish permit conditions for the importation of monkeypox virus clade 2B. 3, determine the permit condition, if the permit conditions are sufficient to ensure the possession of the monkeypox virus clade 2B for laboratory research presents minimal to no significant impact on the environment. As a background, all microorganisms on the list of restricted microorganisms Part A are required to go to board for review, which is why we're here. And microorganisms on this list are categorized as high-risk organisms, which may be allowed into the state under a permit approved by the board. So although the monkeypox virus is on this list, the specific virus, monkeypox virus clade 2B, has been classified as a biosafety level 2, BSL2, pathogen by the Centers for Disease Control. So the purpose of the project is to understand both the basic biology of monkeypox virus and its pathogenesis mechanisms. And to do this, she will do laboratory research in both biosafety level 2 laboratories with biosafety level 3 practices and procedures, and also biosafety level 3 laboratories, depending on the amount of virus handled in each experiment. So this was reviewed by our subcommittee members. 4 of our responding subcommittee members have recommended approval to allow the importation of monkeypox virus clade 2B on the list of microorganisms for laboratory research by the University of Hawaii. 4 of the members also recommended approval to establish permit conditions by permit for laboratory research. And 4 of the members agreed that there was probably minimal to no significant effects on the environment for the with the proposed permit conditions. And 4 of the subcommittee members proposed or agreed that proposed permit conditions are sufficient to assure that there is probably minimal or no significant effects on the environment should it be accidentally released. We do have our applicant here in or on video in the chat. So if there are any other questions or comments, I can turn it over to her.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Kevin, is there anyone
Yes.
from the public who wishes to give testimony on this agenda item?
Yes, I have one person. Lauren, please give your name and affiliation for the record.
I apologize. I'm attempting to submit testimony on the next item, not this one.
Okay. Anyone else from the public wishes to give testimony on item number 2, request number 2? Okay, seeing none, board discussion.
I have a question. I can't find it now in looking through all the material, but I thought I saw somewhere that an exemption from the requirement to prepare an environmental assessment was determined by UH, just I guess like confirmation of that.
UH has their own, I guess they can issue their own exemptions for environmental assessments. So maybe Saguna.
Yes, as a proposing agency, they would be the ones to do that. I guess I just wanted, I thought I read somewhere, but I can't find it now. I'm just looking to confirm that that has been done, or I guess if it's still pending, if that actual, that process of exempting it has, or dealing with the environmental review implications has been addressed.
It's on page 27, Tom.
Okay, any further board discussion? Questions? Go ahead, Josh.
Hi, just reviewing the SOPs. There were contingencies for like tsunami, or if there was, I think it was the air conditioning or power failure. I am interested. There's nothing regarding like if a hurricane was coming and there was like prolonged power outages and how that would affect the laboratory. I assume the building has some kind of contingency for that. I didn't see it, but was just curious about that.
It is a biocontainment facility. Maybe Dr. Saguna Burma or the Nirkar can comment on that.
Saguna, please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I am Saguna Verma. I am a professor at the Department of Tropical Medicine for the last 20 plus years. I've been working with all kind of RNA and DNA viruses for many years, and in both BSL-3 facility using both mouse model and cell culture system, and also in the BSL-2. And some of the examples I can list is Zika virus, West Nile virus, which is a BSL-3, and SARS. We are now working both in the model and in the culture model, BSL-3. So I like to use this opportunity to, share with the committee that we have very good SOPs and contingency plan to take care of our pathogens, and also the ongoing experiments during, if there is a warning of hurricane or tsunami, or if there is a power outage, we have a backup power outage, which we are told, thankfully we have never been tested, that it will run for 3 days if there is a power outage. And so we have tested, actually once, we saw that for at least 24 hours it was up and running, but we don't like to do that. Even last two months ago, when there was a hurricane or a storm warning, we stopped our experiments, we decontaminated everything, bleached everything, and so we do that regularly. So does that answer the question? of the member about the hurricane?
It does to agree. I mean, I'm originally from Venice, Florida. They just got hit, directly. And the thing about a hurricane, and although it hasn't happened here significantly, it'd be like the tsunami, it'd be like the power outage, but it's for a very extended period of time. And so I just want to ensure, like, it sounds good that you guys have procedures when there is an impeding storm.
We have done that, and not only just the cell culture, but our animal experiments are pretty expensive. But we have also sacrificed the animals in the past months when there was a warning of power outage or storm and all that. So we do take these things very serious. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, questions from the committee?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I really appreciate the thoroughness of this application. There's a lot of information there, and it was helpful to have as somebody who's not familiar with human pathogens evaluating this application. Just a clarification, I noticed that in some activities you intend to do under BSL 3 versus BSL 2. I'm just wondering, why aren't you doing everything in BSL 3, and why that one activity you'll do under BSL 3 but not the others, and what the trade-off there is between the two levels of biosecurity?
That's a very good question. So the reason why, so we first wanted to do everything in BSL2 plus, though CDC says that this is a BSL2 pathogen, but we always go a step beyond, and so we were planning to do it in BSL2 plus only, which to us was is a good system to work with. But then we realized that when we are making stock virus, that is the time that we are handling a stock virus more than 10 ml. Otherwise, for my everyday experiments, I'm handling maybe 100 microliters, less than an ml virus. For that, you don't want, the risk is very, very low. So then we had a meetings and with our biosafety officers and all that, and we just thought, just for an extra mile of precaution, let us make our SOPs that when we are making the stock the first time or every year, when we do one big experiment and make more than 10 ml stock, and then we make small aliquots of 1 ml or sometimes 500 ml microliter vials, and we store it in this small thing, and then all those things we will keep it in BSL 3, because there the security is much better and the backup power is better and all that, and we will just bring maybe 5 or 10 vials up to the BSL 2 lab, and there because the students training and all that is much easier, and we have BSL 3 where other BSL 3 pathogens are being worked at, so it is always nice to spread different viruses in different labs. And so that is why we made this, that we will have a BSL 2 plus for monkeypox, day-to-day infections at a smaller level where we are dealing with, but when we are doing this big experiment of making stock virus for one whole year, then that experiment we will do that. So the CDC, if you talk to CDC, they say that it is a BSL 2 virus, but they also say that if you are working with more than one pox virus, so if you are working with monkeypox and vaccinia virus or smallpox together, even vaccinia virus is a BSL 2 pathogen, but they say that if you work with more than one pox, then it is recommended to go into the BSL 3. And I really see their point and agree, because now you are handling multiple pox viruses. But at this stage, we are not planning to do that. So we will like to stick to BSL 2 plus to go step more than BSL 2. But in future, if we ever want to add one more virus, we will come back to you, and then we will move everything to BSL 3. But right now, I'm not planning to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Grace, you have a question?
Yeah, this is a question to our presenters, Department of Ag. I noticed that there was no response from our state lab director, Dr. Desmond, as well as our previous lab director, Dr. Whelan. Is there a reason for that, or was it? I'm just curious.
I'm not too sure. I'm the acting microorganism specialist. I have been acting for the past 4 weeks. So I haven't been completely handling this submittal. So I'm not too sure on the responses from the subcommittee members that didn't respond.
Thank you.
Any further discussion or questions from the board members? Okay, seeing none, may I make a motion to approve? Or have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Sam. Motion by Sam. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Maria. And calling for the vote, are there any objections or abstentions by any of the members?
I abstain.
Okay, okay, we'll do a roll call vote again. Let's see, chair votes approve. Grace?
Abstain.
Okay, Rob Hoff.
Approve.
Maria Hawes.
Approve.
Sam Gon.
Approve.
Josh Fisher.
Approve.
Pam Mizuno.
Approve.
And Tom Eisen.
Approve.
Okay, motion is approved. Moving on to request number 3, related to interim rules for the unrestricted inter-island movement of palm plants. Can we please have our presentation by our staff?
Hello, Mike Kako, and good morning to the chair and members of the advisory committee for plants and animals. My name is Jarrett
Hey,
Lau.
Jared, I'm going to interrupt. Greg, did you vote in the last one?
Yes, I did.
Okay, sorry. I'm crazy.
Thanks, Jonathan. Go ahead, Jarrett.
All right. As I was saying, my name is Jarrett Lau. I am the acting entomologist for the Hawaii Department of Agriculture Plant Quarantine Branch. I'm here to request for 2 findings. One, a finding that the unrestricted inter-island movement of palm plants in the genera Cocos, Livistoma, Phoenix, Pichardia, Rostonia, and Washingtonia, decomposing plant materials such as compost, wood or tree trips, and mulch, plant propagation media, and other items comprised of decomposing organic plant material, such as landscaping material or erosion control stalks, to prevent the movement of coconut rosas beetle from the island of Oahu. This constitutes an emergency justifying issuance of an interim rule. And 2, a finding that the issuance of an interim rule to restrict the inter-island movement of palm plants in the genera Cocos, Livistoma, Phoenix, Pichardia, Rostonia, and Washingtonia, decomposing plant material, plant propagation media, and other items comprised of decomposing organic plant material is required to prevent the spread of coconut rosa beetle from the island of Oahu to uninfested areas within the state. The pest of concern for this interim rule is the coconut rosas beetle. The coconut rosas beetle is a significant pest as an adult beetle that bores into the crown of palm trees to feed on the sap within. During this process, new unopened palm fronds are damaged, and when the palm fronds fully open, they may break off and fall off the tree unexpectedly. If the beetle kills or damages the growing point of the palm, this may lead to the death of the tree. Additionally, secondary fungal or bacterial pathogens may be introduced through the wound caused by the beetle, also leading to the death of the tree. Through reports, the tree mortality after being attacked by a coconut rosas beetle ranges anywhere from 10 to 50%. These dead trees pose a safety hazard as they may fall unexpectedly as the tree trunk rots, causing severe injury or property damage. Furthermore, these dead trees perpetuate the problem as they become a preferred breeding site for CRB once the top of the tree begins to decompose. Adult beetles like to use decomposing materials such as mulch, compost, and other similar decomposing plant material as breeding sites. CRB can be spread inadvertently when infested mulch or compost is moved from one location to another, including inter-island movements. For some history behind this interim rule and this invasive species, in November of 2013, the first coconut rosas beetle was detected and identified on Oahu at Honolulu International Airport. Later that year, a secondary detection was found on Joint Base Pearl Harbor through a trap that was posted to catch a different palm species pest known as the red palm weevil. The next year, January of 2014, a large area containing coconut green waste material on Joint Base Pearl Harbor was found to be heavily infested with all life stages of CRB. Since these initial detections, coconut rhinoceros beetle has spread and continued to spread from the initial sites to Central and West Oahu and extending to parts of North Shore and the windward side. CRB detections has also been reported on our neighbor islands. These islands include Maui, Kauai, and Hawaii Island. For Kauai, the first detection was made in May of 2023, which had spurred 2 treatments, one in October of 2023 and the second in January of 2024. Continued monitoring of the situation is ongoing. For Maui, the first detection was in November of 2023, where a treatment was then done in February of 2024. No new reports or sightings of CRB have been reported on Maui since. Lastly, on Hawaii Island, there was a detection in the Waikoloa area in October of 2023, where a treatment was done in August of 2024. And a second detection was found in September of this year, with ongoing plans for treatments in the works. Pursuant to section 150A-9.5 of Hawaii Revised Statutes, the Hawaii Department of Agriculture may establish an interim rule governing the transport of flora and fauna into or within the state. Pursuant to chapter 150A-9.5 Part B of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, an interim rule may be adopted in the event that the importation or movement of any flora and or fauna in the absence of an effective rule creates a situation dangerous to public health and safety or to the ecological health of the flora and fauna present in the state, which is so immediate in nature that it constitutes an emergency. The department is given the authority under Chapter 4-72 of the Hawaii Administrative Rules to regulate the interstate movement of plants. In Section 4-72-3 of the Hawaii Administrative Rules, it requires an inspection of propagated plants and plant parts prior to being transported between the islands of the states. In Section 4-72-4 of the Hawaii Administrative Rules, it prohibits the inter-island movement of commodities infested with a pest unless it was treated through a pesticide that exterminates the pest. Despite these given authorities, the interim rule also provides much needed means of quarantine and safeguard measures to restrict or prohibit the movement of pests and their plants or commodity hosts to prevent the spread and establishment of pests that are detrimental to agriculture, horticulture, and the forest lands in uninfested islands and in uninfested localities within the state. The proposed interim rule establishes a quarantine to restrict the movement of CRB host material. The Hawaii Department of Agriculture proposes to establish a quarantine to include the entire island of Oahu to protect the rest of the state of Hawaii, restricting the inter-island movement of potentially infected material from Oahu and all other infested areas is crucial. An interim rule is necessary to prevent the further spread and establishment of CRB. This is an emergency situation because the coconut rhinoceros beetle poses a severe and imminent threat to Hawaii's native ecosystems, agriculture, and tourism industries. If coconut rhinoceros beetle continues to spread unchecked, it could lead to significant damage to palm species and other plants essential to Hawaii's landscape and economy. Immediate action is critical to prevent the beetle from infesting new areas, especially non-infested islands, where the cost and difficulty of containment and eradication will increase exponentially. The rapid implementation of this rule is crucial to halt the beetle's expansion and to safeguard Hawaii's natural resources. We request your recommendations and findings to adopt this interim rule and are open to any comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. The department received written testimony in support of the request by 36 individuals and organizations. No written testimony was in opposition. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to provide oral testimony at this time? Kevin.
Yes, I have about 4 attendees. 5, make that 5. I'll go in the order that they raise their hands. So we'll start with Lauren. Hi, Lauren. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Aloha. My name is Lauren Nelson. I work with the Maui County Department of Agriculture and head our food security division. Mahalo for the opportunity to submit testimony this morning. My testimony is in strong support of establishing an interim rule to impose a quarantine on the movement of coconut rhinoceros beetle host material. Given coconut rhinoceros beetle's critical threat to our food security, native ecology, and to all cultural practices that depend on our palm and lahala species, I encourage you to establish this interim rule, and if possible, to extend this rule to cover multiple years. From my research, the spread of CRB to Kauai, Big Island, and Maui happened after the last interim rule was allowed to lapse. We cannot allow this to happen again. An interim rule to impose a quarantine on the movement of CRB host material is our greatest protection from the spread of CRB on our islands. As a community partner shared with me, if the August 8th fires had not happened last year, CRB would be the greatest threat we face as a community. Our future food security is in your hands. We appreciate your consideration of establishing this interim rule. Mahalo for all the work that you do to protect our agricultural communities.
Thank you, Lauren. Next testifier.
Hi, Chelsea. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Yeah, aloha everybody. My name is Chelsea Arnott with the Department of Land and Natural Resources and Division of Forestry and Wildlife. Appreciate the opportunity to provide testimony, chair and members of the committee. I think Jarrett did a great job of really highlighting the issue and the need for the interim rule, and also the last testifier with the threat to food security. And just from the division's perspective, of course, the threat to natural resources on Oahu, where we have no chance of eradicating CRB without better tools, landscape level tools. We are seeing damage and the death of our native Prachardia palms. Your representative from Department of Land and Natural Resources oversees the Prachardia Working Group, which is comprised of botanists and conservation specialists that are really, really concerned about the threat to our natural resources and native Prachardias across the state. And really what we need to do is be preventing the movement of those materials that can harbor CRB, which of course this interim rule will do. And again, echoing the last testifier, we need these rules to be more permanent. This pest is not going away anytime soon, and we're seeing it spread across the state. Kauai is turning into a similar situation to Oahu here. And so we're really looking at making more permanent rules that can quarantine and prevent the movement of these materials and other materials that not only harbor CRB, but other pests. And this could be done by moving forward with the Chapter 4-72 updates, which started back in 2023. The public hearing was held earlier this year, and so just waiting on movement for that. But we're really encouraging the department to move forward with those. So mahalo the opportunity for providing testimony.
Thank you, Chelsea. Next testifier.
Hi, Stephanie. Please state your name and affiliation for the record. Sorry.
No problem. Good morning, Chair and members of the Advisory Committee. My name is Stephanie Easley with CGAPS, the Coordinating Group on Alien Pest Species. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I would like to highlight a few points from our written testimony. First, we strongly support any efforts by HDOA to protect the people and island of Maui from invasive pests. They have been through so much, and they have so much more to go through as they continue to recover and rebuild. Providing them specific protections from invasive pests is important and the right thing to do. Our comments go to the scope of this interim rule. The text appears to be identical to the interim rule that was adopted by HDOA in October of 2023, which did lapse earlier this month, but it's just been a couple of weeks. Since October of 2023, the CRB situation has continued to deteriorate. As this is an interim rule, this committee, excuse me, is the only review it gets. It does not go before the Board of Agriculture or have any other public process. And the standard for an interim rule is that this committee has to make a finding that in the absence of this interim rule, the situation is so dangerous to the public health or safety or the ecological health of flora and fauna as to constitute an emergency. Our position is that even with this interim rule as proposed, the situation in Hawaii is a continuing CRB emergency. We ask this committee to consider adding provisions to this rule to more fully address this emergency. We ask the committee to consider adding language that requires HDOA to work with the mayor of each county to develop a plan to manage mulch, compost, and green waste on each island to prevent the spread and suppress populations of CRB. Mayors do not have the authority to do this, to manage CRB on their own without HDOA's help. They are preempted under the law. Mayors and counties need help to protect their natural and cultural resources, and adding this language to the interim rule would be a big step towards addressing the CRB emergency across the state. Second, we ask the committee to consider designating Kauai as a CRB infested area under the interim rule. It is my understanding that CRB is widespread in a number of areas on Kauai, and that preventing the movement of CRB host material from Kauai to Maui could add an additional layer of protection. I don't know if much material is moved from Kauai to Maui, and perhaps there isn't any, and that's why HDOA left it out of the interim rule, or maybe it was to protect Kauai from receiving CRB host material from Oahu. I don't know, but I'd be interested to know why HDOA chose not to include Kauai as an infested area. And there's another reason to add Kauai, and I realize this issue is not before the committee today, but we want to take the opportunity to urge HDOA to adopt the amendments to Chapter 72 Hawaii Administrative Rules, which regulate the movement of pests within the state. Those amendments include a program called the Compliance Agreement Program that requires anyone who transports, sells, or processes CRB host material, including live trees, to receive training on the identification and management of CRB, and to use best management practices in their work to prevent the spread and suppress populations of CRB. This program was in effect on Oahu from July 2022 to June 2023. I think this is the interim rule that the earlier testifier from Maui was talking about, because it's a much broader program. It's not just this one export restriction. It requires best management practices and population suppression across infested areas. We look forward to HDOA restarting this program on Hawaii and taking steps to expand the compliance agreement program and roll it out on Kauai. We also urge HDOA to work with the Office of the Governor to seek an emergency declaration for CRB. I realize again that this is not within the authority of this committee. However, this really is an emergency that needs additional resources, as the Department of Parks and Recreation is starting to cut down infested trees on the north shore of Oahu in what will be the first of many tree removals. The state and counties need additional resources and authorities to respond to the CRB emergency. Finally, we ask that the references to inter-island movement be removed from the submittal. This is a very minor request. This is just in case HDOA decides to expand the interim rule while it is in effect. And again, it's a minor point, as the interim rule itself does not use the term inter-island movement. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify, and I'm here if you have any questions. Mahalo.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next testifier, please.
Hi, Nate. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Nate Doobie. I'm the manager for the Oahu Invasive Species Committee. Most of the testimony that I am going to submit has been elaborated on already by other testifiers. So I just want to emphasize that OISC, we always support any kind of regulation or rule that's going to limit the spread of high impact, high priority invasive species like coconut rhinoceros beetle. It's not a target species for OISC at this time because it is not eradicable on this island, but that doesn't mean we don't want to help prevent it from becoming established on neighbor islands. And I do just also want to emphasize, as I've done in previous testimony, that we would urge the Department of Agriculture to move forward with the proposed amendments, the approved amendments for Hawaii Administrative Rules, Chapter 72, and to explore other opportunities to bolster our biosecurity through additional regulations and rules, whatever they may be. I think we need to get a little bit creative as we can on the regulatory side, because I don't think that what we're doing now, as Stephanie has mentioned and others, I don't think what we're doing now is preventing the spread. So we really need to increase and expand our efforts. And with that, I just want to thank everybody for their hard work on this. I know there's a lot going on, and I appreciate the committee and the chair and everybody else who's working to help bolster our statewide biosecurity and our invasive species management efforts. So thank you very much. Mom.
Thank you, Nate. Any other testifiers online?
Yes, we have one more.
Okay, go ahead.
To the Sierra Club representative, please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Wayne Tanaka. I'm with the Sierra Club of Hawaii. Obviously, we're in strong support of the reinstatement of these interim rules, and we also support, the comments that have been submitted by the earlier testifiers. I just want to, note that with pretty much identical rules in place, we still saw CRB jump from our island to neighbor islands, right? We had detections in Maui, Waikoloa, and the risk of that continuing is even greater now, I think, with the spread of CRB on even greater spread of CRB on Oahu. Kahaluu is getting hit now, and the spread of CRB in Kauai. And so it concerns me that these rules are just kind of a copy and paste, and there's no real lessons learned from the last year to shore up some of the weaknesses that the previous in the biosecurity protections of the previous of the previous interim rules. And so I do want to really emphasize the importance of having provisions to deal with some of the the high risk vectors that we've been seeing, mulch, compost, not just on from Oahu, but on the neighbor islands. If and when populations of CRB do become established, you want to have those tools ready to go. So and to as I think Stephanie with CGAP said, some mayors are able to mobilize quickly and prevent a similar situation happening on Oahu. And so we have in our written testimony some sample verbiage. I'm not sure if you can adopt that today without, or if you need to have a separate meeting. In any case, I think we should ask the department staff, if we can't do it today, to come back in the next meeting and see if we can improve on what's before you right now. And I do want to also note, I really commend this committee from early last year, I think January, February, moving forward the proposed amendment to HDOA 4782. That's one way to make these, to make permanent a lot of both the protections here and other protections that are in that rule package. Unfortunately, it took a year to get a public hearing for whatever reason, and then it's October, and that was in January of this year. It's October now, and there's no movement on those rules. So you folks individually are, you are, I think, really well situated in terms of your credibility and in terms of your position to individually advocate to the department, to the governor, to try and shake these HDOA 472 rules loose, and would just really encourage you to take advantage of your position, your privilege to add your voice to the call to shore up our biosecurity infrastructure and really protect our islands and our future generations from some of the existential impacts that we've been we're facing. So happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Wayne and Sierra Club. Do I have any other anyone from the public who wishes to provide oral testimony at this time?
We have no one.
Thank you, Kevin. Committee discussion. Yeah, go ahead, Grace.
Just question, how long is this interim rule good for?
It is good for 1 year.
1 year, thank you.
Go ahead, Thomas.
Is there, speaking from the Office of Planning, is there a notion of a plan to do something other than interim, year in, year out, kind of renewing this interim thing, to deal with it more comprehensively, as was noted by the speakers? Because it seems like it's spreading. It's getting worse with what is being done. So it seems like just more of the same isn't helping. That may be a process question. Then specifically, the presenters from the department talked about how treatments have been done. I'm curious what those treatments are and how effective they are. Thank you.
Sure. Jonathan, if you could answer for the first question. You have the pesticides program manager here, so I can hopefully help you with the second question.
I can't, oh, sorry, let me move my camera. Sorry. I guess I can answer on both. So with regards to 472, basically I'm finishing it, and it's scheduled to go before the board, provided that I don't fall off the face of the earth, at the October meeting, and for final approval. Obviously we're doing this because of the department understands that the continued movement of CRB is going to be a problem, and allowing the restrictions that are in place to go away is clearly not part of the problem, is not going to solve the problem. So until we can finalize it, because I mean, obviously the board can do the final approval, and then obviously still have to go small business and kind of complete that process. The rules as are being considered, the interim rule, will give the department the added ability to continue the restrictions to which we are able to implement. And so I guess with regards to the treatment right now, the major thing that's being done with regards to treatment is for green waste or potting mix type things that are moving from Oahu to outer islands. Those commodities are being fumigated prior to movement. And the staff are witnessing each of those treatments, and we are ensuring that the shipping of those goods is in containers that are, for all intents and purposes, impervious to CRB infiltration after the treatments. So that's what's being done currently at this time. And there are some other treatments that have been developed, some crown treatments, some injectables. They're quite costly, and the department has been working with the university for additional treatments for use. Obviously, I think there's like literally, you can count on your hands the number of chemicals that are approved, and then you have some that are approved only on the neighbor islands that aren't approved on Oahu. I think Demon Max. So continuing to work through that particular process to find additional mechanisms that can be utilized to ensure that if things are moving, there's no CRB in them, and then maintaining the restrictions. And I think to comment about the fact that things are the same and things are continuing to move, I think people need to understand that quarantine is designed to mitigate risk. Mitigation is not prevention. The only way that you would really stop this is to stop commerce, and that's something that we obviously can't do. So coming up with things that can be done is what we're doing. And again, right now with Oahu being the way it is, focusing the limited efforts that we have at the ports and the known goods that are moving is our primary focus. Yeah, thanks.
I want to follow up and say I appreciate the efforts the department's doing and encourage continuation. Thank you.
So to give a little bit more background on at least some of the products that are either under research or have been pushed by the CRB response team and some of the official products, right? We're looking from the departmental standpoint at efficacy, and really that's our drive home is, do these products work on these insects? And we want to ensure that it's used in the right way. So right, we do have inspectors, we have education to provide that information and ensure that while we're treating correctly and it's working. So at least from the pesticide side, that's what I have to inform this committee. Rob, you have a question?
I do. I just want to go back to chapter 72 updates, Jonathan, and clarification for where that is. I feel you mentioned that it has to go back to Small Business Review Committee. I thought it was already there. So if you could outline the steps that it needs to go to, because it kind of seems like it's been stuck in this rulemaking purgatory for several years now. And then the question I would have is, if you are able to pull off getting it passed in this, getting it established in this coming year, will it supersede the interim rule?
Yeah, so we need final approval by the board, final adoption by the board, review and adoption by the board. From there, so there is a pre-public hearing and an after public hearing portion for small business, if small businesses are affected. The permanent rules 472 do enable obviously quarantining, and quarantining is a impact to business because they can't sell goods conceivably. So that needs to be assessed by the Small Business Regulatory Review Board folks. They make a recommendation, governor signs, posted it to LG 12 days later. I think it's force of law. Jen can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's kind of it.
Unless they date a different date. Yeah, you're right.
Cool. Hey, I kind of know what I'm doing. But yeah, so that's that. And we want to get it done. We don't want to continue make interim rules. Again, the intent of interim rules is that they're interim, temporary, while you make the permanent ones. And we're this close, can't see my hand this close, and you just plug in along.
And so so if it does happen in the coming year, does that mean that the chapter 72 will supersede this interim agreement? And how does that work?
That's a good question. I believe that the permanent rule would supersede. That's my understanding. And I think also you can rescind the interim rule. That would be the way you would do it to make it very clear. That's something I'm not super aware. Actually,
Are they?
Hey, Jonathan.
Are they even in conflict though, Jonathan? Would it matter?
Not the.
Aren't they kind of both?
They are very similar in terms of the restriction. So I guess I'm thinking back to what we did with Rapid Ohia deaths, because when we did Rapid Ohia death, the interim rule is actually still in place, and we just went over to 72. We didn't rescind the rule, but there was no. I think it was very similar. There was no conflict. We just left it, and we just went with the permanent portion. So I'm envisioning that's what's going to occur, and I think for the folks that are affected, they're already used to, they've been kind of going through this process with their treatments and the witnessing and all that stuff. So I can't imagine that that's going to significantly change for them. So, yeah, but I think we can figure that process out. But I don't see that preventing us from maintaining the restrictions.
Yeah, and
the
committee can also rescind the interim rules once 72.
It only says it's going to be effective not more than a year, so.
Okay. Sam, go ahead with your question.
You mentioned the small business review prior to and after rule. And I just wanted to get a feel for what the small business response was before, the one that already occurred. Is it likely to be a major obstacle after the rule is passed?
I personally don't believe so. When we went to small business, they wanted to understand the mechanism, and they understood the intent. Chris can correct me if I'm wrong, but there wasn't, I mean, it was quite smooth. There wasn't a lot of questions. So I don't believe that, because what we're proposing is essentially what was approved by the board during the preliminary approval. I can't imagine that there will be significant questioning, but maybe something has changed. But I don't envision it at this point based on the initial request.
Thanks for that. I just wanted to know what the nature of that hearing was.
Okay. Josh, you have a question?
Yeah, one is a comment and a question. I completely support the movement of the Chapter 472 permanent rules. So it's good to hear that is moving, and yeah, that's something we'd like to see. To this interim rule, like biosecurity and prevention is really the best use of our limited resources in the state. And I know, there's these rules and stuff, and then, then on top of that, there's the resources, right, to carry them out. And I am interested in just understanding like the designation of infested areas, and then the verbiage on this is focused on inter-island movement. And I'm just wondering about the intra-island movement and setting up quarantines like that. And is it really a capacity issue? I'm just wondering how come there might not be additional language to kind of give some more management opportunities to deal with this within the island. When we first saw CRB come into the state, and I think this is true with a lot of invasives, you really don't start to notice it till it hits like a critical mass, and then that's when you start to see it, and we start to get indications of this on some of the neighbor islands. But the infestation could be a lot worse than what we're actually seeing, and so that's where I wonder about the intra-island quarantines or designations of infestations. And I'm not completely sure how that works, but I know that would take probably working with the counties, the island invasive species committees. It would take some coordination maybe to deal with that. And I was wondering if you could speak a little to that, the inter-island versus intra-island.
Yeah, so it is, a lot of it has a lot to do with resources. So for example, the resources and the ability to really manage effectively movement. So we focus primarily on the port because, right, everything has to go through it. It's not like you can drive. I guess maybe you could sail something across the island on a private boat or something, but generally everything is coming through an airport or a seaport, moving inter-island. Focusing your staff at those particular places gives you the highest opportunity to ensure that regulated goods or things that could be infested that aren't regulated are stopped. So one of the things with regards to intra-island, or within an island, the department has done intra-island restrictions in the past. And banana bungee top, I think we tried doing it for a coffee berry borer on Oahu, and they basically were immediately broken. And I mean, as soon as you made the rule, by the time you made the rule for the infested area, it was outside the infested area, outside the infested area, outside the infested area. And so there's that. And right, constantly, coming back before you folks to expand the area because it requires P&A and board. So you're always, potentially 1 to 2 months behind. And then there's the enforcement capacity. So going back to Kauai, I have 2 inspectors for 7 days a week on Kauai. Thankfully, there's pretty much no movement of CRB host material from Kauai. So that's an advantage that we have. But I guess from an enforcement standpoint, there's that challenge of, I guess there's that fine line of making a restriction and then being basically unenforceable versus, I guess, something there and you have the possibility of enforcing, but you can't really do anything with it. I think I tend to err on the side of caution of trying to make regulations that you can actually enforce so that there's no ideas of like selective, management, or you're only picking on this guy and not on that guy and all that kind of stuff. And I think you really want to try to stay away from those types of situations. And again, at the port, you have the most ability to manage, for all intents and purposes, unilaterally. That's really how we've kind of done it. And going back to Banana Bungee Top, I think some of the signs were still there until only a couple of years ago they were removed for trying to get people to not move. But when you're talking about I'm not sure how far CRB flies, but like half a mile or something with the wind, 2 miles, okay, they fly very far. So creating that geographic area, notifying those individual people, and then again trying to stop them. And you have again I think the secondary issue of even being able to stop them. For example, like you have a guy on a truck, he's maybe leaving the quarantine area, you can't pull him over. I'm not a police officer, right? So you have a lot of those constitutional issues with trying to manage that. Whereas if you're at the port, they don't have access. You can do what you need to do, and you don't have I think you're not dealing with the person, impeding the person versus the goods. Where I think that's where our authority is, under the commodity itself, not necessarily the person. And I think again, like all of those challenges, I think really make for a hard way of implementing a lot of this.
I hear you, Jonathan, but I think that just points to the importance and the effectiveness of the compliance agreements when they were in effect. And I think that's why people are wondering about Chapter 72 and when that might occur, because that seemed to work better. But related to that, I just wanted to understand why Kauai isn't part of this, and the proposed interim rule, since as I understand it, Department of Ag isn't doing any control work on Kauai. So what's the harm of including Kauai in this interim rule is my question.
Aren't we doing stuff on Kauai?
Right? Yeah, there have been applications on Kauai, I believe, 2 over the last year. Yeah.
There was some initial, but my understanding is that your APHIS funding can't be used on Kauai outside of the ports of entry because it's considered established there. Part of the reason DLNR has provided the CRB response funding through UH is so that they could continue to do some work on Kauai and we're not just abandoning it. That's been my understanding. Either way, we can agree that it is established at different places on the island. So is there a reason why you didn't want to? Was the justification that you are in fact doing suppression on Kauai?
So one, there's not much movement. And then I think the idea too was generally with interim rules, we want to try to get guys involved so at least they know before we quarantine them. Obviously, I think if we were to quarantine another island, it's very possible that those folks may have
that's kind of contradictory. You're saying there's nobody doing it, but we would want to give them a heads up before we do it.
Right. No, but I guess from the standpoint of notice, right? We want to work with industry to manage it, and not to say that you can't, right? Not to say that you can't. And again, so I guess with regards to it, if it's deemed necessary, right, we can expand the interim rule to include Kauai. There's nothing that prevents that. So just because we don't do it today doesn't mean it can't be done tomorrow. And I think
we're here today.
It's not on the agenda though.
Oh, is that,
Yeah, that would be outside of the agenda.
To add language to include the
yeah,
island?
no, because the title is to quarantine the island of Oahu,
Yeah.
not the island of Kauai. So the public, so you're expanding the action outside of, out, you're expanding the action that's based on what's publicly noticed.
Yeah, so we would have to discuss this at a different, at a new meeting, essentially, if we wanted to add Kauai.
Or make one for Kauai.
Or make one for Kauai. Correct. Josh, you had a question?
Well, I think it was somewhat answered. I mean, the question was whether you could include the island of Kauai, because I was looking, it was, you know, designating from infested areas to uninfested areas, and then it identifies Oahu, and so that's where I was wondering if you could put the other island on there with that, but I guess that changes it overall. I mean, you know, this all points to just increased resources that are going to be needed at HDOA, because CRB is just, you know, that's what we're dealing with now. There will be additional pests, and our ability to really bolster biosecurity is huge. So that's an ongoing thing.
Go ahead, Tom.
Some of the public presenters offered some suggestions, recommendations to deal with these things that we're talking about. Have they been like seriously considered for integration into the rule or modification or whatnot, or what? You know, it sounded not unreasonable. So what's the way to have that into the conversation?
So, so I guess I think you're referring to, I think the county collaboration. So my understanding of the way the rule is written to manage the movement. I don't know if you can make an interim rule to collaborate with the county, but that doesn't prevent us from doing it. And the department has already provided each county, how much did we give them, Greg? 400 grand? 200 grand? Anyway, we've already given the counties a lot of money to implement green waste management programs already. So I mean, we've already done that. We're working with them now. Can we do more? You know, we can always do more, but it's not that hasn't already begun.
Their ability to quarantine, so at the county level, the authority lies within HDOA though, right? Or what?
That is correct.
Okay, so if the counties wanted to do something, they would have to go through HDOA.
That is correct.
And then that would have to go through this process.
Without the rules, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just putting this out there. Does the committee think we need to have an executive session related to legal questions for our deputy AG? If not, that's okay. We don't have to have one. I'm just it's there for us if we do need it. Okay, hearing none, that's fine. Grace, go ahead.
Just a point, I know we all agree that there's a crisis with the coconut rhinoceros beetle. Has the Department of Ag or anyone approached the governor to do an emergency declaration, which would helpfully hasten the adoption of your rules and anything else that you might want to implement in this period of time? I understand that this interim rule, which will last for a year, and not knowing how fast Department of Ag can get the final rules in place, there is an urgency, and if you know, it is something that affects the state statewide, why not ask the governor for an emergency declaration? Just putting it out there.
Yeah, so we have been working, well, the prior administrator particularly was working through the EP process to figure out which regulations so basically, right, the EP gives you the ability to bypass, right, specific regulations. And, so a lot of the regulations, so for example, treatments, they're covered by the feds, right? So you couldn't eliminate the pesticide regulations. There was a lot of, there was talk about potentially doing agricultural burning, because then you can eliminate green waste altogether. But I think same thing, you have a federal nexus that kind of manages that. And then basically the only other things you get into are potentially collective bargaining for hiring and for procurement. Those are the ones that were identified initially as for possible exemptions that I'm aware of. Yeah, so I think that's kind of where it really hasn't really moved forward. I think from the governor's standpoint, again, at least that's my understanding, and maybe Greg knows more.
No, yeah, that's the basic understanding from my side too. Yes, previous plant industry or acting plant industry administrator Dexter Kishida, or our deputy, right? I do believe that he was working, or is still, he's on vacation, but he's still working on that to get those specific, the wording has to be right to ensure that we're doing what we need to do in terms of that emergency proclamation. So it is definitely still in conversation all the way up to the governor. Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none.
Sorry, Greg, we have Jared.
I just also want to add, just to add to the already current safeguard precautions that we're doing on Oahu to prevent the spread from Kauai to the other islands. Every day we do have inspectors going out to do inspections at Young Brothers. So we are inspecting shipments that are coming between Kauai to Oahu and out to the other islands.
That's good to hear.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion, I move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thanks, Pam. Seconded by Pam. Let's see. Call for the vote. Are there any objections or abstentions? Seeing none, hearing none, the motion is approved. Okay. So really I believe that's the end of our advisory committee on plants and animals. Thank you, committee members and public participants. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded. Okay, Pam motion and Sam seconded. This meeting of the advisory committee on plants and animals is adjourned at 10:54. Thanks, everyone.
Mahalo, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
Jonathan.
you.
Jonathan.
Thank you.
Greg. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Have a nice weekend.